Well, hello there, y'all. Welcome back. It's your girl, Sean LeRae, with Boss Talk. That's bold, one of a kind, sensational superstars, and that's you. So, I don't know if you know it out there, but today marks, well, not today, but Sunday. Was Sunday, May 1st? Yes, Sunday, May 1st marked the first day of Mental Health Awareness Month. And now, if you're out there, many of you must know that I am a licensed marriage family therapist. So, mental health, and better said, mental wellness, is my jam. So, I want to dedicate this entire month to mental health and mental wellness. So, I want you to sit back, get your favorite beverage, and tune in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. So, I want to tell you about my guest tonight. I am so excited. The woman that I'm having on tonight is someone that I had the great pleasure of spending 4 days or five in Trinidad and Tobago, as we were both blessed with the privilege of being able to deliver a TEDx talk in beautiful, sunny Caribbean Trinidad. So her name is Dr. Josiane Apollon. So she was born and raised in Paris, France. Oh, oui, oui. And she is a trilingual family systems researcher, practitioner, and she earned her PhD in marriage and family therapy at Nova Southwestern University in Davie, Florida. While maintaining a private practice in Coconut Grove, Florida, as the clinical director and founder of Integrative Wellness, Dr. Josiane extends her role beyond the U.S. borders, volunteering with Results Educational Fund, committed to influence Congress people and their political decisions to allocate funds to domestic and global issues. With over 20 years of professional experience, Dr. Josiane is a national and international trainer to health and mental health professionals in the US and abroad, teaching the art and science of compassionate love, as she believes that compassionate love, or unconditional love, is the antidote for systemic racism, sexual mass violence, and trauma that will transform and heal humanity one relationship at a time. So, without another word from me, please welcome to Boss Talk, Dr. Josiane.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Charlotte, thank you so much for having me in this special month for both of us as
Yes.
mental wellness healers and warriors. And we are amazing leaders, especially with this TEDx talk out there now, right?
Yes. How about that? So, listen, let's start by talking about that. Like, if you could sum it up, and it's impossible, I think it's impossible to sum that experience up in one word.
It is.
Because if you do, you're going to use all the cliches: awesome, amazing, wonderful, those kinds of things. But if you got three words, how would you sum up that amazing experience that we had?
God's grace.
Wow. Oh, that's great. That's rich. I like it. I can so relate to that 100%. Yes, that is good. I
God's
love it.
grace.
I
I
love it.
feel that.
I would say, it's so funny. I always ask these questions, but I never have my own answer. So let me think. Let me think a moment.
Yes.
Let's see. Gratitude in action.
Woo, I love it. Gratitude is one of my favorite words. Oh,
Yes,
wow.
yes.
Yes.
Mine too. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. Everyone knows that I'm a fanatic for my jewelry, and I cannot find my ring that goes on this finger. Okay, here it
Oh,
is.
okay. You got it.
Now we can continue. Boom, got
Okay.
it.
Without the ring, forget it. This.
We go. I love that necklace too, by the way.
Thank you.
Is
That's
that
my.
rose quartz, the stone in the
Yes,
end?
that's rose quartz, for my love count. And then this is the life, the key of life. Okay.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love both.
From my ancient roots in Egypt.
Yes, ma'am. Now, are you Egyptian? Is that your family origin?
So my family origin is I did 23andMe like many people or ancestors,
Hmm.
ancestors, and it's so mixed. So it's definitely in Africa. I have 82% of my gene pool from Africa, and although it details that I'm mostly from Nigeria, like 31 or 35%, I am all over the map, all over the map.
I relate.
I'm African. I embrace my African roots, and then I have 20 some percent of European,
Uh-huh.
and that's Northern Europe, which is mostly Ireland, British, and Norway. And it's so funny because I only have 0.1% or 2%, 0.2% of
Oh,
French, although I was born and raised.
that's so funny. That is
Yes,
so hilarious.
yes. And so it is, after all, we just have to understand we are all mixed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I did oh, what's the one that I did? I think it was the DNA
Mm-hmm.
and the DNA ancestry, I think it
Yes.
was. And I remember being, I think it's 85% sub-Saharan African.
Mm.
I think 3% indigenous
Mm-hmm.
and the rest European. So like 12% or something European.
Yes.
Hold on, I have to send a message because I'm roasting.
Okay, go
And so
ahead.
somebody's got to come help me. Okay, so Connie is here, and Minister Connie is always with us. She is one of Boss Talk's most loyal followers. We love it. She said, you both did an amazing job on your TED Talks. Glad to see Dr. Josiane here. See, she knows you. Oh, she also says that she loves your beautiful French accent,
Oh,
Dr.
thank
Josiane.
you. I've been trying to get rid of it. It's impossible.
It's impossible. It is so beautiful. Don't even worry. Don't even try to get rid of it.
Thank you.
So so let's see. So now you are a doctor of clinical psychology. Is that correct?
No, of the marriage and family therapy. So
Okay.
actually, after my master was in mental health counseling, which is more a scientific method and it's more linear. We apply
Right.
diagnosis
Right.
and the regular. We see the individual as separate from the family and whatnot. But
Okay.
when you do family systems, so what it is all about is you see the individual within the family system. So the family could be a couple or could be grandparents, uncles and whatnot. And
Got it.
seeing it like that is the process of healing, because you don't really see the person as detached from their family of origin. You
Mhm.
see also the problem outside. It's within the system, but it's not the person per se.
Right.
It's more about the interactions within the family system.
Yes, I love family systems. Now, are you familiar with IFS now, internal family systems, the training and the that sort of network that they're doing?
Not really. Is it new?
It
Because there's
is
so many modalities.
yeah, it's kind of new and I won't be able to describe it well. It's sort of it's kind of what you were talking about. It's looking at and examining the systems, but it takes it a little bit further, and it also integrates other things in it, like family mindfulness and those kinds of things. So it actually adds specific interventions that you can use, if that makes sense. That's the
It
best way I
does.
can describe
It
it.
does. Yes. Which
Yeah.
is what most of us practitioners do. It's difficult to have just one modality or one school of thought.
Hmm.
Usually, as family systems, it embraces and encompasses so many different lenses that, it could be strategic or family constellations, solution focused, and whatnot. So there's so many of them, and at the same time, it's all under the umbrella of family systems.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Get it going. Get it towards me. Yeah. So, because I'm sorry.
No
I would never
problem.
do this, except if I don't, I'm going to melt completely 100%. Right here in the photo.
I
Oh
don't
my
want you to melt.
Just
Even
like,
I at home, I think I can bring my AC. I'm in Miami, guys, and I'm
oh, yes.
sending all the love and the sun, although it's dark already, but to every one of your listeners.
Yes, Miami, and I'm in sunny California. So we have all the sunshine in the world at our fingertips. So, tell me about well, first of all, I want to go back. So you did your master's in marriage family therapy and then continued into your doctorate in marriage family therapy.
Yeah, so I did my master's in
Oh,
mental health
master's.
counseling,
That's right. That's right. And
and
then
then
your
the doctorate. So the what's important to know is you don't need a doctorate in order to
right.
be a therapist, marriage and family therapist. I did it because I wanted to actually help our people, African American couples. And so I had already, I was very mature when I went back to school, and I already 14 years of experience under my belt. But then I said, you know what? There's something that's missing. Why are we not in science? Why are we not talking about the resilient couples? So from
Right.
the get-go, I knew there was something that I wanted to work on.
Mm.
Most students go in and they just like discover themselves. I discovered myself before before
Exactly.
going to school.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I totally get that. Like I was a grown up when I was 50 years old when I went back
Mhm.
to get my master's.
There you
And
go.
then now I'm doing my doctorate, but my
Yes.
doctorate is in general psychology with an emphasis on performance psychology.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So what did
Yes.
Connie say? What's the biggest struggle pattern that you see in families based on your experience?
Wow, that's a great question. So let me think for a second. The biggest pattern, struggle pattern that okay, so I see different patterns depending on the dynamics. If it's a couple, if it's either a straight couple or gay couple, or if it's a parent-child dynamic, it's different. Or parent and their own parent, or child with grandparents or uncles. So there's different levels of struggle.
Mm,
But if I have to bring it all together in simplified way, I will say that most of the time when we speak, we want to be understood, first. And that's the problem, because usually the person will have their guards or fence up,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because we don't make the movement to go into their world and try to understand them first.
I
So
love that.
yeah, and so what I notice is, and I have an intervention for that. I have people sitting face to face. It doesn't have to be only couples. It could be a child, adult child, and their parent. And when you sit them across from each other and you tell them to not talk, just gaze at each other, there's something magical that happens. It's just the opening of a heart, and you feel it, this energy of love that's coming out. And most people will start giggling nervously and
Mhm.
then start to settle in their heart and let it open and then cry.
Yes.
And
I've
they
seen
just
it happen. I love that.
and they just cry. And you know why? It's because most of the time we're so in hurry to try to convey our message that we go from our individual paradigms into the world of the other, but we don't care about the other. And we just want to spit it out and say,
Yes,
I need
yes,
that, my needs, my needs, my needs. And nobody can hear each other because everybody's trying to, express their needs without listening to the other's needs. That
exactly.
doesn't work.
Exactly. Exactly. I had a couple that kind of I like to observe, especially in the beginning, right?
Yes.
So they come in and and it's all just going, I'm like, almost like playing tennis, watching tennis, right? I'm like, and then I'll go, okay, stop. I'll be like, we're not doing this. Just tell them right,
I love it.
it's not what we're doing. Y'all
Yes.
could have done this at home. I'm like, y'all could have done this at home, and you're paying me good money, so you probably want to get something out of this, right? Okay,
Right.
let's do this. But recently, I had a couple that I offered them. I actually attended a training through CAMPT, which is California Association of Marriage Family Therapists, and I'm
Okay.
on the board this year.
Mhm.
And the person who selected the programs last year for this year selected a woman who did this kind of like a mindful, it was like a, how do I want to describe it? Sort of like an internal connection training, right? And so
Mhm.
she
Mhm.
talked about using mindfulness, which is my jam. And
Right.
so she has this exercise where couples can sit and just breathe. And so I told this couple, I said, and you're going to giggle at first. Somebody's going to giggle. That's okay. Don't get up. Just sit there, look at each other. There's no talking. Just breathe. Pay attention to your breath. Pay attention to your partner's breath. And do you know that they said when they finished, they felt so in sync for the
Exactly.
first time in a long time?
I'm not surprised because that's what we call, or I call, it's based on Heidi Schleifer's um, 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 approach, which is the encounter. Um, I forgot exactly. ECCT. There's different.
ECCT.
Yeah, ECCT. The encounter couples um, centered therapy, something like that.
Oh, I like that.
Yes, and basically what she's teaching is that it's presencing. She calls it presencing. So your presence is required right
Mm,
now.
yes, I
And
love it.
it's just to be able to that you need to breathe because our hearts, it's the best, highest inner wisdom that we have with us. We don't
Mm,
need a dictionary. We don't need somebody else. It's inside of us at all times.
mhm.
Most people get to forget it. Not paying attention to our heart is like dismissing 80% of our power.
Yes, look at that. Wow,
Yes,
80%
80%
gone away from you. That
gone away,
insane.
gone away, and that's because
Insane.
we've been taught and conditioned in a very, very demeaning way not to really appreciate our breath. And I
Oh,
don't know if you know, Sean Larry, that in Hebrew, in Arabic, and in Latin, breath is spirit. The
oh,
meaning of breath is spirit.
yes. Just think about that. Y'all think about that for a moment out there. Wow, that's intense. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, breath is
Well,
spirit. So we are spiritual beings having a human experience, right?
oh yes, yes, I love that. Pierre de Teilhard Chardon.
Yeah, exactly.
He's on my. That's the quote on my website.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I love it.
Same,
So,
we
right,
are
of
same.
course, girl, we are so in sync. Minister Connie wants to know what was your what was your interest in African American couples?
Okay, so that's a great question too. I love it because I noticed I was working in a mental health counseling center, and there were not that many, and I was wondering why, where are they? I want to see my people. Why are they
Yeah,
not coming?
yes.
So once you live in the United States, whether you're from the Caribbean or Europe, like I am, it doesn't matter. You are considered African American. So I
Absolutely.
always say I'm African American. I don't have time with silliness. So, but yet I was thinking, where am I? I'm not really seeing.
Well, my people, my people.
Exactly. So I say, okay, well, maybe if I go into private practice, I'm going to see them. And I started my private practice before going back to school to do my PhD, and I still
Uh-huh.
didn't see them. So I say, okay. And then my own couple was going like a little bit sour. So I say, empty nesters, let's do what everybody does. Let's go to therapy. I mean, I'm a therapist. I will encourage everyone to go to therapy.
That's
So
right.
we went, and without thinking, I asked a friend of mine, she's from France, and she gave me the name of a therapist. And then once I arrived there, the guy is white. And I was thinking, oh, well, no problem. But he wasn't used to seeing a black couple. And so then I realized, duh, my people are not coming to therapy. And then I started the program, and then sure enough, we are not going to therapy, maybe a little bit more nowadays, because that was almost 8-9 years ago. But still, there's a fear, and it's legitimate,
Oh,
because
yes.
African American, due to the history, right, have been mistreated and still are in science. And so I understand where it's coming from. And, it's not a paranoia that's not functional. It is definitely functional in order to protect ourselves in a
Mm.
way. And so I say, okay, if then they're not coming to therapy, what is the way they have to heal? And then so that's how I based my research. I did my research based on resilient couples
Yeah.
that don't go to therapy, and that found a way, some strategies to make it. So that was the
Mm.
question, what are the adaptation strategies within the context of a slavery system and current racism? That was my question,
Ooh,
my research question.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, I have to check with the audience. Then I have to tell you a funny story about my first research question.
Okay, I love it.
Okay, so let's see. Hey, Soror, Lanny says presence. Yes, be present. Yes, breath
Yeah.
equals spirit. Soror Rhonda, hi there. She says good evening to
Hello,
us.
Wanda.
Wow, the meaning of breath is spirit. And
Yes, it is. It is.
hey, Shani Shan, she says, Ruach,
Yeah,
Ruach,
Muak.
Ruach
Mm.
is the Hebrew word for wind and spirit. Ooh, I love
Yes.
all my smart girls. She says, thank you for answering your questions. Very interesting to hear your perspective. And she appreciates you taking an interest in us. Thank you, Connie. Thank you
Definitely.
all, ladies, for your comments. Keep them coming. So now I remember one other thing that I wanted to ask you. So when you started working with African American couples, because I do too, and so what do you find are some of the things that make you feel excited about their being there? Like, what do you see? What kind of shifts do you see? What kind of promise do you see when they come? Because, like you said, rightfully, there has been some trepidation around, going to therapy. There's trust issues and those kinds of things. There's, the age old story, and I don't know about in France in a black family, but in America, in a black family, it was like, girl, you're not telling all our business. And
Right.
those kinds of things. So what do you find is something that kind of warms your soul when you're doing the work?
Okay. I love the question. Thank you for asking it. So, it depends what I notice, because it depends on the age group. So I've seen younger couples that are millennials, married for not too long. They have a couple of kids, and I've seen older couples also. older, like literally in their 70s,
Yeah.
that was interesting. And what I noticed in the younger generation is the desire. So they some were lawyers and accountants. They were really making it, changing the family multi-generational wealth. They were changing it for them. The people, the young couples that I've seen were making it for the older generations. And what they didn't have the perception of was how they were choosing each other based on some stereotypes,
Mm.
and that were from the collective, right?
Ooh,
from
girl.
from So then I had to bring into their awareness, and it was so funny because one day I remember this couple, two lawyers, and very young. The man had his own law firm, and the lady was working for I think for a private practice, and she came and she at that day she brought the that she has been insulted because she received a card, and it was she was almost like considered as the stereotype was the big mama, like a big mama, something. So she felt offended because she's a career woman, and here she is considered like something that she doesn't ascribe to.
Right.
And he could not understand what she was talking about. And I had to break it down for this young man who's doing great, but just that one thing, set them apart, because she was thinking in terms, you know, after all we've been through as Black women,
Mm.
and I'm a career woman. Uh, um, ancestor fought for us to vote, to do all those things, and all the Black women who came before me helped me to be where I am. And you
Mhm.
consider me as what? So it was
That's
really,
interesting.
yeah, that was so interesting, because he was like, oh, I didn't think of it, and I guess you have a point. So what I did was the presencing exercise, in order for them to go in each other's world, but before doing that, for him to set aside all these assumptions, all these preconceived ideas, including the stereotypes from the collective, right?
Right.
The dominant group, right? The white people, basically,
Yes.
slavery, that he was still bringing out without thinking that he was bringing out anything, because he really felt he was up and going, very modern, very this, very
Mhm.
that. And she said, excuse me, I am not accepting.
Art. Okay.
And
I love
yeah,
it.
so that was one example of struggle for one couple.
Yeah.
Another couple,
But wait, you know what, Josiane? Let me just interject something right there, because something that popped into my head. I had a similar
yes,
situation, and the guy actually felt that it made him close to her and was a show of love and affection, because the women that raised him were like that.
exactly. And that's to tell you to what extent we
Yes.
carry on and we
Yes.
perpetuating our own stereotypes that are not ours, but that we integrated, that we are internalized as our own, when it's not. And we have to get rid of them and say, we do not
We don't own
consent.
it. Right.
We do not consent to any enslavement patterns, codes, programs from the collective, in order for us to detach from it in our body. And so there's the physical body, the emotional body, the
Yes.
mental body, and the auric field that are all around us, and that are depriving us, if we're not conscious of what we're carrying around, of our words, our language, and our
Yes.
focus. What are we focusing on? Expand.
I
So
love that. Absolutely. What did Miss Connie say? Shauna Ray, you always conduct the best interviews and your guests are so fabulous. Boss women, you thank you. Thank you, Connie. And you fit that bill too, darling, because you were a guest, of course. Oh, look who's here. Uh-oh, wait. Dr. Valerie from
welcome the group.
she says, great to see you both. Thank you for bringing this important topic to Boss Talk. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you for tuning in. Okay. Well, here we go. Minister Connie has, she's very inquisitive. I love it. What is the biggest disconnect with why? You or help us out on that, Connie? We'll come back because I'm not sure what you're asking. They
Yes.
disconnect with what? Hey, Gigi, great idea. Go into each other's worlds in order to understand one another. Absolutely. And Valerie says, I'm curious to hear what are some of the strategies for all of us to practice to stay in good mental health state. Ooh,
For
this is yummy.
sure.
Let's hear it. Go ahead, Dr. Josiane, take it away.
Okay, so I'm going to name them and then I'll give you some details. So
Okay.
the first one is breaking the chains. So those chains are the one that I was just mentioning, the enslavement patterns that we repeat within our own interactions with each other, between women, Black women, and Black men and women, with our children sometimes, and we perpetuating them without paying attention. So we have to reclaim our sovereignty. And in order to do that, though, we need to break those chains. So those chains are the ego mind control, the enslavement pattern, and the family generational curse and spells that we project into our own generational children, and that needs to be cut and interrupt. But you need to be conscious of it to see, wait a second, why am I doing that?
Right.
If it doesn't work for you, don't do it again. It doesn't work. So and I start usually my sessions with anybody that comes into my private practice. I come with, what are some of the qualities that you inherited from your ancestors?
Girl, I love that.
And so when we start with the qualities, we go straight to another dimension. And you feel the energy that, wow, I didn't expect to say anything like that. Even the couples that I asked the questions for when I conducted the interviews, I asked that question and they were so surprised because they thought I was going to ask something bad. You see what I'm saying? They're already like,
right.
Why are you here?
Exactly. What you talking about?
Exactly.
I love it. Wow, that is so beautiful, though. Just think about if we could break those language when we break those chains.
Yes, when.
That's such a beautiful, beautiful thought, because there are so many things we forget, and there's so much strength in recognizing those things that we bring to every single relationship that belong to our family of origin.
Exactly.
And our understanding of who we are in the world related to that.
Right. And then, so our family of origin, they have captured some of their own ancestral curses and spells that they're repeating, and they don't know how to get rid of it. So once we become conscious of it, then we say, oh, you know what? When grandma did this thing, I know why she did it, because at that time, in her context, she was trying to protect ourselves, the family from dying from different things.
Right.
And then without knowing, because it goes into our blood, that's what we call epigenetics.
Yeah.
So that means
my language, girl.
Yes, it's above the genes. That means it's in the environment. There is a interaction with us, our bodies, and the environment. And in order to stop it, we have to claim it. We have to be
Yes.
our sovereignty in order
Mm-hmm.
to claim that and
Yes.
stop it. So that's number
Yes.
one,
Breaking the chains, number one. Okay.
breaking the chain. Number two is being equally yoked. So that means you each person is balanced inside out and with the partner and also with their spirit, heart, and sexuality.
Mm.
Which is, I discovered that the spirit, mind, and body in a couple system, it's their spirituality, compassionate love, and sexuality.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
if you don't have these three, which is a triangle, that triangle is the strongest form, strongest shape in nature. There's nothing stronger. The circle is not stronger than the triangle. That's why you have pyramids that have been standing for centuries, for millennia.
Mm.
You
I
understand?
love it. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes. Okay. Number three.
Number three is common grounds. It's for us to agree and disagree with compassionate love. That means we have to think about the big picture here. That when we fight, we need to still keep in mind that the person is has a different point of view and that we have to respect and honor their differences.
Mm.
And they cannot think like us because they're not us.
I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's number three.
All right.
Number four is loving beyond. That's the reason why I wrote the book. So, compassionate love in science is a scientific term that means loving beyond. The couples, the black couples I interviewed, gave me that term because they say you cannot just see the person like that. Otherwise, you're going to build a monster out of that person and hate the monster which you are the one who built. So in
Wow. Look
order
at that.
to, that
Wow.
was so deep. That was I.
Mm.
Oh my goodness, that was so deep. So
Hate the monster you built.
yes. So
Gosh.
in order to not build a monster, they said you have to love beyond what is. Love
Ooh.
beyond what is. That
Oh my
means
gosh, Dr. Josephine, that's just sounds beautiful, doesn't it?
this. I was crying when I heard that. I
Like,
could not. I was so happy. So I'm more a quantitative researcher, and then with the force of things, which I wrote in a book, and for a long story short, I was asked to do the interview, and I said, you know what, let's do that. Let's interview. And when you interview people and you go down, and they're from different social economic status, different professions, different educational levels, and
mm,
then I went and I found in the economically poorest, the richest in terms of philosophy of life.
ah,
Oh, they were the richest, and you felt that. You
mm,
you you know you go in, the house is like a shack. They have five kids. They're going to school, and they are loved. The love of the parents between them.
mm.
Oh
I
my
love
goodness,
that. And
that was
Josiane, I'm so glad that you're mentioning that because so much of the time when we talk about the lower socioeconomic status and living in a shack and kids piled on top of one another, they only point out what's bad about that. But how often are those children the most poised, the most well behaved, the
exactly,
kindest,
exactly,
because their core is togetherness.
exactly.
And it's like we don't have all this external stuff, but we have one another, and we can be. The most important thing is to be and be
It's,
together. I love
yeah.
it. But is there a number five?
Yes, there's a number five for
Okay,
the
give
time.
me five.
Okay, the number five is really number one, which is loving yourself first.
Mm.
So there were a couple of couples, some men, some husbands who have decided to go and stop the relationship in order to maintain the relationship, go away in order to find themselves
Mm.
and to love themselves in order to honor their relationship.
Yes, I love that.
That's what I call being a man. That's what I call respecting, honoring the relationship, knowing that he didn't have his act together. And a lot of things, he almost died actually. This gentleman almost died. He had a car accident, almost died. He saw that he was going to die. And he said, thank God he had the accident because that brought him back into where he was supposed to be.
Wow.
To
Yes. Look at
understand,
that. Mm-hmm.
to understand everything.
Yes. So, number one, breaking the chains. Number two, being equally yoked. And we're not
Yes.
talking about Christian versus Jew. We're not talking
No.
about that. We are talking about from the core in your
Yes.
common ground, loving beyond, and loving yourself first. And so, tell us, where is the book where they can get the whole scoop?
Yes. So, well, the first book I wrote in December that I finished in December and published is an academic book, and it's kind of intense because it's for researchers and whatnot and clinicians. And
Okay.
so, actually, this weekend I decided, I'm going to write a book from these 5 strategies for everyone to have those tools because it will be less money, more affordable, and really I want to get that those strategies out there because they're not only for Black people, they're for everyone. And
Absolutely.
the reason why I went to Black people, well, not only because I'm Black, and I was trying to find my own answers, right? But also because we've been the longest on Earth. So
Mm.
the modern humans are from Africa, and because we've been through hardships and different climates, and we've still survived
Yeah.
so many barbaric
Mm.
crimes against our humanity. That's why I went to Black people to save the whole humanity.
Yes. Yes. And own that.
And
Absolutely.
own that, and to know
Absolutely.
that if we don't need to go to therapy, although I'm a therapist, it's because of these 5 strategies that
Mm.
are being really transmitted to us inside our bloodline. And to
Yes.
know that no matter what, if we look at our ancestors and to make peace with our past, because a lot of times, even my ex-husband now, and he's talking about, I don't want to go see any movies on slavery. I don't like that. This is terrible. And because we are brainwashed, we have been conditioned to be ashamed of ourselves and not to look at what works, what's best in us. We've been
Woo!
taught to look at what's wrong in us.
Girl, you're gonna make me do the dance. Our TEDx sister Valerie says yes, a resounding yes. I'm sure is coming from everyone out here. Let's see, what are the folks saying? Hey, my sister, BWN sister, Gwendolyn Goodman says, where does Josiane make her home now? And
Oh,
accent still so strongly beautiful. When does she live in France? Is she visiting Florida? And if so, is it her summer place? Okay, that was number one. Miami.
I live in Miami, but I go to France every year, even with the COVID. It doesn't matter to me because family first, family matters, and no matter where is the African diaspora, we have to stay connected. So
Mm.
uh, within the United States, I love the United States, but really I'm also very French and very European in a way, and I think that's why I can see what's happening, and that's why I did the study the couples to
Mm,
understand better because. When I hear people, even Black people talking, African Americans talking about African Americans, sometimes it's very degrading. So I say,
mm.
you know what? I need to go from the lion's mouth to know exactly the truth. And that's why, as a researcher, I say, I'm going to get, the real story because this is not possible.
Yes, get the real scoop. I love
Yes.
it. I love it.
Thank
So
you for
Miami is
asking.
home, so she's not summering there, but
No,
she's always all over the place with her lovely husband Alex.
yes.
And so thank you for that question, Gwendolyn. And let's see. Uh oh, Connie. Connie's question was the biggest disconnect with couples. What do you find is the biggest disconnect with couples?
It's the individual paradigm is to want to be understood first
Mhm.
and not to understand the other first.
Yes.
So when we are in our individual paradigm, there's a total disconnect, and it's very difficult to open up to the other because we just want to spit it out, what we have in our mind, and the person might not be open yet because she
Mhm.
didn't go and try to reach out. So as soon as you're not reaching out to the other person, they're not going to be there for you to listen to you. So you want to make sure that you're on the same wavelength, and is it the right time to speak with you?
Mm,
And sometimes when we don't ask permission, so then it's not the right time, and the person doesn't want to talk and just close and not and disconnect again when the
absolutely.
person needs to be heard.
Yes.
We all want that, to be heard, to be understood, and to feel validated,
Mhm.
really.
Oh, yes. You mentioned something a moment ago when you were talking. You said that people, you're not like them and they're not like you. And I find
Yes.
a lot of times when people come into me, a lot of the things that their women will be complaining about are things that are specific to you married a man, and that's how their brains work, that there's a difference. And so you're not going to 100% see things the same way,
Yeah.
but you can reach a medium and agree to disagree. Everything can be a discussion, not an argument, not World War 4, 5, 6,
Exactly.
however many times you do it. And when I show this video, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's called The Tale of Two Brains. Have you ever seen it?
No, I don't think so. It's
I'm going to
good.
send you a link.
Send it to me,
My
please.
couples love it because it's this guy. He's talking about the difference between a man's brain and a woman's brain, and the way that he describes it. And you tell me if you can gather this, ladies out there. A man's brain is like a series of boxes. Like, did your mother have a sewing notions box or your dad have a fishing tackle box? So
Mm-hmm.
there's a big box and all these little boxes, and they take out one box at a time very carefully, not to touch the other box. And they deal with what's in that box. That's it. And they put that box back and they quietly retreat, and then they get the next box when the time comes. Now a woman's brain is more like if you had yarn or a series of wires all wrapped. And when you wrap a ball of yarn, you wrap it this way for a while, and then you wrap it the other way, and then you wrap it this way. Not to say that we're scattered or disconnected, because here's the thing: we can function with all those wires going bzz, 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 bzz,
Yes.
all at the same time. A man is like, and when a woman is watching this man take these boxes out, she's like this, and the men have a box that absolutely is the worst box in the world for a woman, and that is the nothing box. And that's when
Mm.
he pulls it out, and he won't say anything, and he won't respond, and he has nothing for you because he's taken out his nothing box. Now, does
Right.
that mean that you're going to be in the series of disarray throughout the whole relationship? No. Knowledge is power. So when you understand that, and when you know that, and you operate out of that truth, then that's where the whole connection can begin.
That's this so true. And also I want to add that sometimes we switch roles. It depends how long
Yes,
the,
yes.
the the relationship has been, if it's a long-term relationship, then you could see yourself taking the role of your partner, or taking
Mhm.
some habits and some things that you don't like, and then you're like, oh, I'm narcissistic now. Well,
Oh dear.
and so it's really interesting because it's a dynamic. I like to say that when you are in, so there's polyamorous, but we're not talking about this type of relationship right now. We're talking about a couple. So whether you're gay or not,
Mhm.
or straight, what I'm saying is two people get together. There's always a third element, which is the relationship. That relationship is alive. It's an entity. It's really an entity. And you have to come to say what matters most is the relationship. What is for the benefit of the relationship?
I love that.
Yes. And that's how you can become relationally mature. Because if you don't
Mhm.
put the relationship first, you're going to fail because you're going to be
Yes.
in two individual paradigms, like your own world, separated and not connected, or not even in communion or union with each other.
You know what I always say to people? I said this to a couple the other day, and I said, I kind of feel like you guys are in two different movies, different plot lines, different characters, like two different movies. So that's what you're saying when you're in, you're putting your needs first, and the relationship is in here going, circling like a bad connection on a computer, right? And people are,
Exactly. And then what's happening is, so the relationship is alive. Okay, just think about something alive that you feel, but it's you don't see. and
mm,
and then it get polluted with your look, with your actions, with your emotions, with words.
mhm,
When your words are not of kindness
mm,
or goodness, and you're hurting the other, although that you love them, but you don't
right.
know how to really, listen to them first, and pause and breathe. So all of these, our ancestors used to do it. And
Mm.
there's a quote that I use from Baldwin's book. I forgot the title of the book, but he said, if if we didn't love each other, we'd be dead.
I know that one. Is that
I
the
think fire,
oh, the
fire.
fire? That's what I was
Yeah,
gonna say. Fire, yeah, yeah. I love it. Yes,
yes,
yes.
yes. So
Gigi said
you need to
good
know.
stuff.
Yes, it is good stuff, but it's things that we should be talking more about how strong we are, and what are some of the qualities we have through millennia. It's not only centuries, millennia. You need to
Mm,
understand where we're coming from. Very strong galaxies and stars, star systems that are put us here on earth. Why? So you're thinking sometimes, why are we doomed? Why is India fighting? Why is in Haiti fighting? Why is there so much misery? We are the richest motherland. The motherland is the richest continent in the world, with
mhm,
all the diamonds, with all the nutrients, with all the things that we have in our phone system, the cobalt.
uh-huh,
Everything is coming. Even the tree, the moringa tree, is the tree that you can eat from,
mm,
that is found in India and Africa for good reasons. So you need to understand, there's no coincidences. It's all in synchronicity with the supreme being, with the higher power, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. It is in absolute,
100%.
absolute, and everything that we've been going through for the past 2.5 years is also coming out, because we have to take in charge our sovereignty and come
Mhm,
back united, and knowing how to really love the way our ancestors have taught us. But
absolutely.
we have not listened. So it's
No,
time to listen.
absolutely. We got so far, far away. And you say listen, because I often say this, is that like so much of the time when we don't listen to God and that small still voice, we lose our way, right?
Yes, we
And
do.
when we
We do.
stop, and that's what's happened in America, in this world, we have lost our way. And there's just so much of all of the things that disrupt our peace, our serenity, our even connection to what is sovereign.
Yes,
Right? We
exactly.
lose sight of that. We absolutely lose sight of that.
We do, and that's why this is right now. I have a friend who has a show online, and he talks about the awakening world. We are awakening, so
Mm,
this awakening is asking us to be the best that we can be, not only for ourselves within our partnership, our relationship, but also for our children.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Our
Absolutely.
children and the next generation that are
Exactly.
looking at us and they're taking so much. You don't need to talk for them to understand you are sad, you are mad, you are not happy. What is going on? And then they take it in and they go on. And that's why, the highest rate of suicide is amongst our kids.
Yes. I have to share something
And it's sad, right?
about that. Valerie, I see you, I hear you, I appreciate you both. Keep doing, uh-oh, keep on. Oh, I don't get it. Keep do.
doing,
Ah,
okay. I guess
okay.
that means doing
I feel
it.
like I should know it. Now I'm never gonna move till I get it.
Valerie, we
Valerie,
love you. We love you. We
help
love
us
you.
out, Valerie. Help us out. Tell us what that is. There was recently a situation where a young woman, young girl, 9 years old,
Mhm,
was being bullied at school, and her mother reached out to the other parent after some time.
mhm,
At one point at the school, there was a young man who had been the, watching these kids mistreat and bully this kid, and so he actually stopped one of the girls and fought one of the girls and told her to stop it and hit her and whatever.
mm, mm, mm.
So he was suspended. The girls who were doing the bullying and had been doing it for a long time, and there had been like it had been countless times of them, the girl asking for help, et
Really?
cetera, et cetera,
Mhm,
and didn't no one did anything about it except this mother then wrote to the girl who had the one who had gotten beaten up, but they had gone past that, something, they'd moved on. And she had then this little girl had a friend who's very timid, who
mhm,
was her best friend, but this other girl who was the bully kind of started making her not play with the other girl, these
mhm.
kinds of things. So the mother wrote to the mom of the other girl, the bully girl, the one who allegedly bullied, I should say, and said, hey, your daughter's doing this, and maybe you can talk to her, like this kind of thing. And the woman wrote back and was kind of nasty, and then they mothers were going back and forth, not too bad, but on that edge.
Right.
Well, the teacher of the girl who was the bully and the other girl who was the one that was kind of timidly being this other girl's friend, this bully's friend, and brought the young girl who was being bullied together and told her that she should be ashamed. She had no business telling this girl's business, or that her mother had no business telling this girl's business,
Mm,
and shamed the girl who was being bullied. She is African American girl. The rest of them are not. So she was evaluated by a psychologist who told the mother that she was low risk for suicide, and that in order to get her more mental health help through the school, that they would need to declare her mentally disturbed.
oh, wow. This.
I am still angry. This just happened. It just happened. And I
Breaks my heart.
I was heartbroken, angry, and I spoke to that mother and I said, your child is not mentally disturbed. Your child has been bullied, and this does not stop here. You have to talk to that principal, because the woman was not even her teacher.
Right. Oh, on top
What
of that. Yeah.
teacher brings grown folks' business to a kid
Mhm.
and blames this child? And
It's
this is a system where this happens continually with our children. And it's
yes.
got to stop, because
It's
these babies are brilliant
yes.
and being squashed in some of these systems where people are not being right. I just will say it like that.
Well, it's funny you bringing this up because I actually been working with a family, um, uh, of African American girl that is had been bullied since elementary school, and so the pattern had repeated itself, and now she's in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a case at the beginning of the pandemic. So they started going online, right? And then what happened is one child bullied her online, writing in the chat box the N word 22 times, and the teacher never said anything. So it's a big case actually that there's a lawsuit, and there's a lot of things involved.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's to tell you that that's the reason why I become advocate,
Yes, me.
and to talk to Congress, to talk to go beyond really our code of our field, because it's all interconnected.
It is. It
It
is.
is so interconnected. We cannot just be. We have to be agent of change at all levels, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have to tell you another funny story. And this one just made my heart sing. So I have a young client. She's a teenager, beautiful young woman, very vibrant, smart, does all these great things. And in her school, whatever systems these schools use now, where everybody can see it in the system. So somebody was writing in the system the N-word repeatedly. So finally, the teacher, oops, there we go, that side sticking up. The teacher addressed it. And um, in her, sort of admonishment of the class, several times she said the N word, just the quote unquote, the N word. You can't use the N word, can't use the N word. And then she actually said the N word in giving a description. Well, my client came to me and was very bothered. She
Mm-hmm.
said it made me feel very uncomfortable. Well, the next week she went to school and she asked some of her classmates who were African American and Latino, Latinx, they call it. And so she said, did you feel uncomfortable? And they said yes. And she came home and she wrote a note. And she stayed after class and she said, Miss So and so, would you mind if I talk to you for a few minutes? And the teacher said, sure. And she said, Miss So and so, you are one of my favorite teachers. And I really appreciate what I'm learning from you. But I have to tell you that I was very disappointed when you said the N word. She said it's very offensive. It is not a word that you should ever use, especially when there are African American people in the room. She said, so I hope you understand that I don't want to be disrespectful, but I just wanted to let you know that not just I feel this way, but many of your classmates, students feel this way in the class.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was very courageous.
I just applauded her, and the teacher, she said she took it well. She accepted it and was very, but I just love, those are the kinds of children that are going to change this world. And,
Definitely,
you know,
definitely. We need more of those who
yes.
have the courage to come forward and to speak
Exactly.
up and help, each other. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I think the millennials are more like that, and they know how to bring more respect,
Yes.
to what they who they are, what they do, and how to be non-confrontational, but still standing on your grounds in a way that's still respectful, because you know we that's what we call being racialized. That means that
Yes.
we get that pet talk when we're 3 years old or 4 years old.
Hello.
There's, yeah, that double consciousness that W. Du Bois used to talk about, that double consciousness. But
Yeah.
when you're from France or anywhere, we have triple consciousness, because we are not, we are not white, we are women and speak another language, and that makes things very, very, very complicated.
Mm,
But the new generations, I've noticed, are amazing. They are so strong.
yes,
They're
they
so
are.
strong, and they know how to write. And that girl that I'm telling you, she won actually a free a scholarship. She won a full ride scholarship because she writes so well.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and I told her she should write her book. I mean, I, we're going to hear about her, because she's
Good.
amazing, amazing, amazing.
Good. So Valerie was saying, I see you, I hear you, I appreciate you both. Keep doing good work. Okay, we got it. Thank you.
Ah,
Hey, my soror, my sans, Deborah Cottrell says she's enjoying the show. Thank you for tuning
hello,
in.
Deborah.
Let's see. You are shining bright like diamonds. Thank you for sharing your work and yourselves with us tonight. And thank you, Valerie, so much for your comments and your beautiful spirit and for coming and joining us tonight. Brokenhearted, brokenhearted. Oh, yes, Miss Connie. I do know what you mean. Absolutely. So, Gigi, does the NAACP get involved with situations like this? I actually do believe they do. I actually have a situation with another client that their children were taken away from them, and it's a whole nightmare, and it never should have happened. And I have invited them to contact the NAACP because I think that, if nothing more, they should know about these situations so that even if they can't help this particular family, they know that these situations, or are more aware that these situations are still existing and are existing in grand numbers. And legislature is the answer too. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, nobody's listening, but if you don't talk, you will never know whether they're listening or not.
That's true.
So let's see. The bullying story breaks my heart to the core. Absolutely. Absolutely. Parent advocacy is so important for our children. We need to support each other because our Black girls are under attack. It's so true. It is so
Yes.
true. Brava. We are vessels and our new generation is rising up. It's so
Yes.
true. I tell you, and I love also the millennial commitment to their mental health.
Ooh, yes, yes, yes.
I have a practice full of wonderful millennials just doing great things in the world and really recognizing the need that there is. They're erasing that stigma. They are believing that they need to be at their best to do their best. And so they are
Yes.
seeking help. Do you find that in Miami in your practice as
Oh,
well?
yes, in my practice. And I have three boys, 31 years old, 30, and 27. And
Mm,
let me tell you, they're kicking ass. Why? Because I want them to be strong and be there for their brothers and sisters. And they're all, well, my house is like a house of, I can have 20 boys with no problems. I love boys, okay? But and girls also, of course. And I have a big family in France, so we are 9 children with 21 grandchildren and 12 great grandchildren.
I
So
love
yeah,
it.
so that feeling of it's like a village, right?
Yes, Dr. Josie, and I feel like you are the perfect millennial mama.
Yeah, I am, and to give them the tools. The tools are, to see the other, whether they're white, yellow, green, whatever, red, to know how to engage with them, not be afraid of them.
Hmm.
That is key.
Yes.
That is key because I noticed in my practice, especially because I started at the Children's Psychiatric Center in Miami 20 years ago, and I work especially with children and their families, and I felt the fear of the other, that, oh no, we're just going to stay among ourselves. No, I want you to get out of wherever you live and go explore out there, because that's how you're going to make it. Speak another language, be curious, know that you're going to develop. There's inside of you, there is something so divine, something special that is unique, that the world wants to see and hear.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the millennials are doing it, and we need to encourage them. Even
Yes.
and the thing that I noticed, as soon as you think in terms of money, you're jinxing yourself. Don't think in terms of money.
Mm-hmm.
Abundance is our divine right. Okay,
Please
abundance
say
is our
that.
divine
Yes.
right. So that could be an affirmation, but
Mm-hmm.
abundance is our divine right. And when, as soon as you believe in it, just like with the couple who live in the shack that I interviewed for my study, as soon as I spoke with them and I told them, listen, abundance is your divine right. Not even a month later, they found a job. They went back to school to get their high school diploma. I was like crying and crying and crying,
Oh, I love that.
because they allow themselves to hear something different, and even to participate in my own study. They're
Mm.
expanding themselves. Every time you expand your unit of influence, you're gaining abundance. You're gaining, whether it's abundance in knowledge, abundance in other people, abundance in prosperity, in you getting something.
Yes. And I believe abundance is transferable, like you're saying. So if
Oh,
you
yes.
are abundant in one area, you keep believing and you'll be abundant where in all the areas. And it's a
Yes.
beautiful thing.
Yes. Yes.
Valerie says, yes, a new fleet of ships are rising up to take our global world to a better place. Ooh, I love that. That's like poetry. And abundance is divine, a divine right.
Fine
It
line.
is,
Yes.
it so is in so many ways. I
Yes.
love this. This has been so great. Dr. Josiane, I have to tell y'all, Dr. Josiane is a pure, pure French diva. You gotta just know she's fabulous in every way, with a great big warm heart that certainly touched mine when we were together in Trinidad. And I'm so glad to still be in community with you. And I'm super excited that I'm coming to visit.
Yes, I'm so happy.
So
Thank
I'm
you,
going
thank
to
you, thank
Miami.
you.
Anybody who knows me knows that I'm going to Miami. They know I'm on Project Miami, drinking lots of water and trying to eat well and move my body so I can get in these bathing suits in Miami. But I am going a bit early and spend a little time with Dr. Josiane and her lovely husband, Alex.
Yes, at home, we're going to pamper you for a couple of days or 3 days, and it's going to be amazing.
I'm
And
excited.
that's what it is, sisterhood. We have to support each other. We have to help each other. And when you see a sister that is having a bad moment, just bring her back to her heart and send love. Send love. Whether it's a sister or a brother, know that they are loved, and there's no reason to just look at what's wrong. Look at what works and what's best.
I am writing that down because I love that phrase.
That's
Bring
basically my book. Yes.
bring, we got to get that book. I am going to get that book for sure. The academic
Yes.
one. Bring, I can't write very well. Hold on. Bring, there we go. Them back to their
How?
heart. And what about the love? I know you're like me. You don't remember what you said. Bring them back to their heart and
I forgot.
maybe send them love. We'll
Send
go
them
with
love. Yeah.
that.
Send
Okay.
them love.
Okay. And I truly appreciate your sharing about your journey with your dissertation, because my dear, certainly I'm doing qualitative study. Of course we are human experience, right? We're doing qualitative, I'm doing qualitative, so I will be back there checking on you to get some help from you as I
You're going to find it in my book because it's actually my dissertation. It's an adaptation of my dissertation on African American couples, and it's very easy. It's chapter 1 and 5 of a dissertation.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, when I went to my residency, the thing I love about my program is we start working on the dissertation right away. And you
Yes.
see your other classes and you pop in there and do the dissertation. So I went to Phoenix, Arizona for my first residency, and I had my topic. I was so very proud. And I kept going, it goes, so say your name and then say your topic. And so I go, I am Sean LeRae Brinkley, and my topic is how African American, no, how intergenerational trauma, post slavery syndrome, and implicit bias impact African Americans' ability to to perform at optimal levels in their lives. And he was like, whoa. He was like, okay, say it again slow. And so I said, how intergenerational trauma. And he leaned over. I said, post slavery syndrome. He leaned over a little further. I said, implicit bias. He leaned over further. By the time I finished it, he was leaned almost to the floor. And I said, what? And each time I said intergenerational trauma, he said 6 months. I said, post slavery syndrome. He said 6 months. I said, implicit bias. He said 6 months. And then he goes, what do I mean? And I said, I'll add 6 months to my dissertation. He goes, no, 18. And I was like, so then he said, kiss. And I said, somebody calling me stupid. He said, keep it simple, scholar.
Oh, I love that.
Got it. Got it. And so I actually spent the next night changing my dissertation topic. So my new topic is how African American women tell stories about their experiences of colorism in the entertainment industry.
Ooh,
So
I
I'm
love
excited
it.
to do that. So I'll be doing narrative is my
Oh, I love narrative.
I'll teach these.
Oh,
Yes.
nice, nice. Yeah, definitely contact me, whenever you want. I love that. I hesitated because I collected stories. So narrative is very important, and you
Mm,
can see it in the book. Although I didn't use it per se because I was using other that were more inclusive in the sense mass trauma of the link to bring back the past into the
mhm.
present and to respect the past and honor. So that I
Yeah.
needed that. And I used the Hedy Schleifer, the ECCT, in
Mm,
order to see how the couples dynamic, from one world to the other.
mhm.
And I use also the essentialism, African essentialism, which is the essence, to
Mm.
understand our essence. So
Ooh.
there's a lot of Africa. If anybody is interested in knowing the kings and the queens are in my book
Mm,
from Africa. The first queens and in the world are from Africa. They're in my book. I talk about the essence, what it means in African philosophy. It's beyond just our nature. It's our energy. It's our divinity. So,
mm.
so it's all in a book also.
It's so rich. I have to have this book. I'm gonna get it and bring it with me so you can sign it.
Yes.
It's one more thing, and then we probably have to go and let people go and have their dinner. But and you go to take a nap because it's later over there.
Yes.
When I was growing up, and you mentioned how sometimes we don't embrace our culture, and when people don't want to go to see movies about slaves, they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to recognize that was our history. And I
Yes.
think the best thing to do is look at it as it definitely was our history. Certainly, there are some definite residuals that we are dealing with on a daily, but we have to band together and move through that because we are not that. We are so much more than that. And I grew up with my parents, and I lived in lily white suburbia. And I went to all white schools, and whenever the teachers would teach about slavery, they'd all look at me And whenever they showed, I never forget this little film clip on the old fashioned projector that they had up on the wall, and it was loud. It was grainy, and it was like you could hear it cranking. But when they would show these ladies dancing, which now I think is the most beautiful thing ever, and they would have on the costumes that kind of crisscrossed their breasts, but their breasts were bare, and they were dancing. They had the paint and the whole thing, and I would do like this.
Oh yes,
Because you're like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and you're like, oh, her boobies are going, and they're looking at me. So I went home and I told my parents, and my daddy, they cracked open the books, baby, and I learned that before you were a slave, before your people were slaves, baby, they were kings and queens.
exactly. Yes. Oh, but you were lucky and
Oh,
blessed to have your parents telling you.
So blessed, because I would go in there and I'd raise my hand. Before we were slaves, we were kings and queens.
Oh, that's so amazing. I love it.
And I had on the same kind of glasses too.
Okay. I'm not the diva. She is the diva. Miss Chandler, you are
everybody on this call, they already know. That's why we got on so well.
Yes.
Oh, let's see. We have another comment.
Okay.
From Soror Rhonda. Great show, very informative. Mental health is more important now than ever before. It impacts every area of our lives. The importance of good mental health ripples into everything we do. Thanks, smooches. Mwah. Smooches, Soror. I'll see you in Miami. Yes. I'm on the Miami project, y'all. I'm so hungry, I don't know what to do. But it's okay.
I can't wait to see you and squeeze.
Josiane, thank you so much. It has been such a delight and a pleasure to have you on Boss Talk. Thank you, Boss Talk audience. You are the best.
Thank you, audience. You're amazing. Keep up the good work and go within. You are divine. You are divine humans, and we can together change the world. I promise you, we are going to change the world. That world, we're going to say, we do not consent to be treated, inferiorly. We do not consent to be dehumanized. We do not consent to any enslavement patterns. We do not consent to be less than divine.
Woo! I love it. Come on, girl. All right. Well, thank you. I just love you, Josiane. I'll see you shortly. And Linda. Hey, Linda, girl. Thanks for tuning in. You are welcome. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for being there.
Absolutely. So, Boss Talkers, you know the deal. We are here every single Wednesday at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 7 o'clock Mountain Time. I learned that the other day. 8 o'clock Central Time and 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we will be back. And this entire month of May, we will be talking to women and maybe a few good men like Dr. Josiane, who have dedicated their lives and their hearts to the mental health field in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month. Thank you, Valerie. So y'all know what to do. Live loved. And shalom, y'all. You are Boss. And this is Boss Talk signing off. Bold, one of a kind, sensational superstars.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.